Anger was one of my most valuable assets when it came to overcoming trauma and abuse, and I want to talk about that because quite often as survivors, we kind of have this instinct to suppress our anger until it blows up into this episode of reactive abuse and creates this uncomfortable cycle, right? Well, I remember hitting a point. I had just left domestic violence. I had a history with childhood abuse, a lot of trauma, and I had a point where I felt defeated. I felt like I was never going to be able to live because of what other people had chosen to do to me, around me, all of that. And I genuinely felt defeated. I struggled to get out of bed. And when I did, it was just to take care of my kid and then sit on the couch. I was extremely defeated. I cried all day, almost every day. And then I hit a point where I was given advice by my therapist at the time, and he told me to get angry. And I leaned into that. I started to create an angry vision board. I had a vision board that had all these like burning bridges and a lot of like feminine rage type of inspired vision board. And I began leaning into my anger, and I started doing what I like to call angry therapy, where I give myself time to yell into a pillow, to hit a pillow or a mattress, or do something else that's safe while also healthily allowing me to express anger, right? I would write letters, angry letters, and then burn them so nobody would ever read them. I would talk out loud to myself and say all the things I wouldn't dare say to that person's face. And I found ways to allow myself to be angry in a healthy way. And then after that, with that anger coursing through my veins, I use it as fuel. Because I hit a point where I felt so defeated. Trauma and abuse had taken everything from me. At that point in my life, trauma and abuse had taken everything. It took my childhood. It took my confidence. It took my personality. I felt like I was nothing but a pile of trauma responses. Now, looking back, I disagree with that sentiment, but at the time, I felt like I was nothing but the result of somebody else's poor behavior. I felt like I was nothing but trauma. And I decided to put my foot down because trauma and abuse had taken enough from me. It took everything from me. It took all of mine and my daughter's material belongings. It took memories. It took, a positive childhood and a positive pregnancy and postpartum experience, and all these things were just taken from me. And I decided that trauma and abuse would not be taking my future as well. I got angry. I got territorial. And I put my foot down, and I got so angry that I refused to let trauma and abuse have control over me any longer. I couldn't change the past. I couldn't change what happened. But I refused to accept that my life was just going to be chronic PTSD with no solution. Everywhere I looked, that's what everybody said, is just, well, you experienced trauma and now you just are like this. And I refused to accept that. I would rather fail 1,000,000 times than accept that fate. So I did. I did. I began healing, and I began searching for something better. I began researching and trying every single different angle, every single different approach I could find. I tried spiritual approaches and therapeutic approaches and subconscious therapy like EMDR and parts work. And I tried talk therapy and reading books, and I tried somatic therapy and so many different approaches. And I began to notice that all of these approaches had dots where they all connected. That's where I created my healing platform. That's where I created my strategy, was where all the dots connected and little things here and there that I found helped me. And I used that anger to fuel me to heal, to fuel me to be the kind of person that trauma and abuse would never be able to touch. To become the kind of person that even if I found myself in a bad situation, I would be different in it. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to be the kind of person that even if I experienced something bad again, I would not cower. Because that's how I lived. I was very quick to accept defeat under the pressure because I had no clue how to do anything else. So I spent years researching, I spent years studying, I spent years noticing cycles that I'd go through of analyzing my behavior and then not being able to do better, and then noticing why I feel what I feel, but then not being able to feel better. And it just created all these cycles, and I just kept hitting dead end until finally I found a system that works. And a lot of that was fueled in anger. I can guarantee if I wasn't fueled by anger, I would have given up on that journey. Absolutely. Everything I have in my life, whether it be material, internal growth, whether it be anything, who I am as a woman, all of it comes down to the fact that I allowed anger to fuel me to get to where I am. All of it comes down to my anger. I find anger to be very sacred. Especially after going through that experience, anger can be used in a sacred manner. And when you allow it to come out in healthy ways, you're able to channel it into something so powerful. Whereas when you suppress it, it turns into that big blow up, right? But yeah, no, I used anger to completely change my life. My life will never be the same. After using anger as a motivator, my life will never be the same. But if anybody's interested, I do offer one-on-one life coaching sessions using all of the methods that I learned along the way, all of the methods that worked for me, as well as I learned other methods that would likely work for other people along the way. If anybody's interested, there's links for that in my bio to schedule, my email's in there, my website, all of that. So go ahead and go check that out. Love you.